Good morning, good afternoon, or good night from whenever and wherever you are watching us. I am Cameron Scandal. That is Steven Treffler. And we are The Sound. Thank you so much for joining us today. Steve, it's been 10 days since we've been here speaking to the public. 10 days, maybe 11 by the time they're watching this. It's been too long. It's been quiet for far too long. But have no fear, The Sound is here. We are here to provide the people a service. We got NFL, we got NBA, we got a whole lot of sound. We got a great show for you today. But before we get started, we are going to start with things to mention. Short little segment for today. A couple things we wanted to bring to light. Steve is going to have our first one coming from the MLS.
Lionel Messi and Inter Miami FC wins the League Cup. So that's big. Messi has scored in every single game he's been a part of since he came to Inter Miami FC. He is the best player in the world. He's the best at what he does. He's arguably the best at what he does all time. This is what happens when you bring a global superstar and put him on your team. They were 1-14 when he got there. Now they're 5-14. So kudos to them. Good job, Messi, for doing what you've been doing your whole life.
Good job. One thing that I wanted to mention, very special day today. It is Kobe Bryant's 45th birthday, spending it once again in heaven. Soft clap for Kobe Bryant. Absolute shame. Yeah, one of the most iconic athletes of all time across any sport. Just, it's a bummer. Would have been 45 today. Shout out Kobe Bryant, mama forever. And with that all being said, we can now get into our actual show. And just like usual, like we never left, our first segment of the day, our NFL Division Ranking Series. We only have 2 divisions left, and today we're moving on to the AFC West. A little bit of a difference in what Steve and I thought this list was going to be the order for. We got it figured out. We got a good list for you. And without further ado, we are going to get right into it. Starting off at the bottom and working our way up, number 4, the worst team in this division, the Denver Broncos. Maybe a hot take with Russell Wilson at quarterback and Sean Payton coming in, but we have some reasons to explain it. So first and foremost, 5-12 this past season, the 21st ranked offense, but the 7th ranked defense, bringing back a large chunk of that defense this season. Russell Wilson's weird, man. I don't think we're going to see the Seattle Russell Wilson ever again. Oh. And I know, Steve, you're going to talk a little bit about Sean Payton in a second, but I don't know if it's not so much as Sean Payton is enough, but if Russell Wilson is too much. Like, he's out there with his arms out swaying and listening to the wind, like speaking in tongues. He's just he's that try hard in gym class that yells at all the guys to do better, which it's the NFL. I get it, but we all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. So I just don't know if it's enough to overcome. And Denver is one of those franchises kind of like Cleveland for the last few years, but not to the same extent, of just a lot of losing. I don't really know what their culture is besides a good defense, and that to me isn't a culture. They have no true wide receiver 1, I don't think. Maybe those guys would be good number 2s, but they're just not good enough ones. Like I said, defense is as good as always, one of the best secondaries in the league, but I just don't think they're good enough to be over these 3 other teams, putting them 4th in the AFC West.
They have the 7th ranked defense, but they just lost their defensive coordinator and Bradley Chubb to the Miami Dolphins. And that's definitely a loss because Fangio is known as one of the top 5 defensive coordinators in the NFL. That's definitely going to make an impact. The Broncos, Sean Payton is a fantastic coach, proven pedigree coach. When he was with the Saints, they were always contenders at some point in time, but he also had Drew Brees, and that's a large portion of the success that you have out there. But Sean Payton is a proven winning coach. He knows something about culture. You remember after Katrina hit down in New Orleans, Sean Payton really used that football team to help rile that community up, and they won a Super Bowl. When you have a team that's just so young and your quarterback is 3 years out of his prime, I'm just not putting much stock in your ability to. Now, I'm not saying that the 3rd place team is head and shoulders better than them, but I'm saying that they're definitely better in the areas that you need to be better.
So, yeah, we got the Denver Broncos at number 4 in this division, which brings us to number 3, and that is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said Oakland Raiders. I said it in my head, and I was like, nope, that's not what they are anymore. The Las Vegas Raiders. 6-11 last season, 12th offense, 28th ranked defense. Not really great for them. It had been speculated if Josh Jacobs was going to come back, if he was going to sit out, what his situation was. So the Raiders did activate the franchise tag. He will be with them this season, will be an unrestricted free agent in the 24 offseason. So, but he hasn't really came to any training camp stuff yet. We'll see if there's some conflict when the season starts with the chemistry, or it's been reported that he's either going to just take what they have begrudgingly, or if he's going to come back and they work around a new contract. We'll see. But no matter what, he's going to be Raider. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not a Jimmy G fan. I said this to Steve before the show. Jimmy G, to me, is the top of the line bridge quarterback, meaning he's a little bit too good to be a backup. He's not good enough to be your franchise quarterback. But when you're looking for a big name free agent to come there, to draft someone who you think is going to be your franchise quarterback, whatever the case may be, you want to make a trade, Jimmy G is a good placeholder. So I think he'll do just fine, average at best, right? Their defense was a huge disaster last year. They've picked up some defensive linemen and bulked up the defense in the draft. Steve, you look confused.
Yeah, no, keep going. I'm sorry. I'm Googling something right now. I wanted to know something. Keep going.
I just feel that they were better than the Broncos. I have less question marks and less concerns about the Raiders than the Broncos, but I agree with what you're saying that they're not going to be a whole lot better than Denver, but I think they have a better chance of being a playoff team than the Broncos do. I'll say that. But that just sits them firmly at our number 3 spot.
The Raiders, to me, have the potential to be good with the right quarterback. Jimmy G's not the right quarterback, but Jimmy G, to me, emulates a Ryan Fitzpatrick-esque type of quarterback where he's a bridge quarterback. He's not a starter. He's not a guy that's going to take you to the Super Bowl and win, but he's a guy that's going to be a placeholder. Like when Ryan Fitzpatrick came in and filled in for Tua when he was on the Dolphins. He did an okay job. I want to believe in Josh Jacobs, but I also just don't believe in Josh McDaniels as a head coach. I'm not a Josh McDaniels guy. So to me, the Raiders are going to be 500 is a great season for them this year. I would put them more around like what they were last year, like a 6-11. That's probably even like a 7-9. But like, I mean, I'm sorry, 7-10. But like, I'm not bought in on the Raiders, but they are, like we've said, clearly better than the Broncos. So
yeah, and just quickly, I again want to make clear I don't like Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G is not a good quarterback, but also be fair to him, I think he's a step above Ryan Fitzpatrick in the sense of like, is he gonna come down and hit game-winning drives or hit deep passes or call audibles because he's reading defenses like crazy? No. Is he going to go out there and throw into triple coverage because he knows that Devontae Adams is the best receiver? I don't think he's that dumb. I'm not saying that
Ryan Fitzpatrick is.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that Jimmy G is like dog water, but he's certainly not, like I said, not your franchise quarterback. He's just good enough to keep you afloat. But you're not signing Jimmy G for more than 2 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think with that, like we said, we had the Raiders just above the Broncos, but they're number 3 on this list, which brings us to number 2, the Los Angeles Chargers. 9th in offense, 20th on defense, lost to Jacksonville in the wild card round in a historic fashion, up 27-0. I don't know if you remember, Steve, in the second half, and blew it. Ended up losing, like I just said, by 1 point. Largest playoff loss in Los Angeles Chargers history. What does LA need to do to make large improvements to maybe eventually, probably not for a long time, but maybe be number 1 in this division, or at least get a little closer? So I don't know what LA's identity is. So a couple seasons ago, they had built up this team and this defense. Khalil Mack was a big part of it when they got him, and like we're gonna beat the Chargers. We have this all-time good, not all-time good, but just really good defense.
You mean
What?
beat the Chiefs?
What did I say?
Chargers.
Beat the Chiefs. Yeah, excuse me. We have Justin Herbert, the young stud, gonna lead us to greatness, and then of course they fall flat. Then last season they were known as maybe going to be a good team, kind of going to have a rebound, but they were hurt. They had a lot of people to injuries. They were one of, if not the most injury-riddled team in the NFL last season. Now, this season, I still don't really know what they're going to be. Like, I don't know what to think about Jacksonville. I don't know about LA. I don't know what their storyline is. And all we know about is, or they're only consistent, is Justin Herbert. So Justin Herbert set an NFL record with 102 offensive touchdowns in his first 3 years. Okay. Record. He is second in NFL history behind only your boy Dan Marino for most touchdown passes in 3 years. Okay. He has a 287.5 career passing yards per game, which ranks second all time. So he averages 287.5 yards a game, only behind Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Those are all the things Justin Herbert has done so far in his young NFL life. And yet I don't know what the Chargers are going to look like. The Chargers need to do a lot of soul searching and find themselves. And until they figure that out, they're going to stay at number 2 on this list for a while.
What do the Chargers need to do to take a step? Well, I would say they are pretty much always going to be guaranteed a wild card spot. I would say that they will probably always be in the wild card. Now, what does it last year? They were smashing the Jaguars. I want to believe that Justin Herbert is going to learn from that, because a loss like that can make or break you. A loss like that can weigh heavy on your mind. It can change the way you look at things. It stays there. So what I need to see is, does Justin Herbert have a short memory? And also, the Chargers have one of the best multi-purpose backs in the NFL in Austin Eckler.
Mm-hmm.
He's a stud. I like watching him. He catches the ball. He's not as good as McCaffrey, but as far as multi-purpose backs, he's probably second in the league. The Chargers will never, as long as Mahomes is in this division, win this division. But that doesn't mean that they can't make a deep playoff run. So I believe that last year was a fluke. I believe that Justin Herbert is going to take a step this year.
Yep, I agree. And like I said, until they kind of figure out, like, I don't know what their identity is besides we have Justin Herbert, but that's
exactly
not an identity to me. Yeah.
No.
So and you have a good point. As long as Mahomes is alive and breathing in that division, they're not winning, and that's not all their fault, but it's just the reality of the situation. So it's the Los Angeles Chargers. Well, I almost said San Diego Chargers. A lot of name flips in this division. Now, San Diego to LA, Oakland to Las Vegas. Yeah. So the LA Chargers at number 2. So very obviously number 1 in this division, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. Pretty easy answer. Really no brainer. 14-3 last season, the number 1 offense in football, the number 11 defense in football, winning the Super Bowl last year against the Philadelphia Eagles. And what we are witnessing in Kansas City is the start of, if not already, started a mini dynasty. Being in the Super Bowl 3 of the last 4 years, winning it 2 of those times. Patrick Mahomes is what we believe already a top 5 quarterback of all time. Can he go higher and climb? I don't know. We'll see, but probably. Travis Kelce is quickly becoming one of the best tight ends ever. He's becoming one of the best offensive catchers in playoff history as a tight end. That's a really special title, I feel like. So can he get higher? Can he get better? I don't know, but probably. Andy Reid is starting to gain a lot of traction as maybe one of the best coaches in NFL history. Can he keep winning? Can he get better? Probably. We'll see. They have all of these great guys that we all are 99.9% sure are going to keep winning and keep getting better and keep climbing up these ranks. I'm not really sure of another franchise that I have more confidence in to win long-term more than the Chiefs, like across all sports. I don't have as much faith in any of the franchise than I do the Chiefs and continue winning championships. And I think since the Patriots back in the late 2010s, I think this is the most realistic team to repeat in a Super Bowl.
Travis Kelce is already a top 5 tight end all time, in my opinion. I don't think it's close. And the Chiefs are going to go down as the only team in NFL history where the best player and the second best player at a position are both from the same team. Tony Gonzalez is by far the greatest tight end of all time. Travis Kelce, by the time he's done, I believe will be better than Tony Gonzalez. Patrick Mahomes, to me, has the ability. He is the only person right now that can catch Tom Brady. That's it. He is the only person to me that has a realistic shot of going down as the greatest quarterback of all time. Andy Reid. Andy Reid to me is a top 10 coach all time, undoubtedly, in my opinion. I think that Andy Reid with one more Super Bowl would make a drastic jump. I see the Chiefs losing in the AFC Championship game, though. So where I think they are the best team in this division, I think that this is the year that somebody else, Joe Burrow, steps up and kind of moves into the Super Bowl this year. But regardless, they're the best team in football. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in football right now. And Andy Reid is probably the best coach in football right now. So when you have the best player, the best coach, and the best offense, you're the number one
tight end.
And the best tight end. Chris Jones on that defensive line.
Yeah.
He's going to be an anchor and a stud. I mean, they've got just a great team.
So run back through your AFC West from top to bottom. We got the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Chargers, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Denver Broncos. 1 through 4, AFC West. One more division. Probably going to be the hardest one to do. We're going to have a hefty conversation. But yeah, we're going strong on this series. See you next time on that. Moving on to our next segment, it is time for everyone's favorite segment, and that is Soundbite. In case you forget what Soundbite is, because it's been a while, I'm going to tell you. Soundbite is where Steve and I react to different clips from podcasts, post-game interviews, or if someone just says something interesting that we want to take a listen to, we listen. So for today's Soundbite, we have Steph Curry on Gilbert Arenas' podcast making some just wrong comments. If you haven't seen this, you have not gone outside in the last couple of days. That's what we're here for, to provide you with this great service. So let's take a listen and react to Steph Curry making a bad statement on Gilbert Arenas' podcast.
Are you the best point guard ever?
Yes. Yes. It's me and Magic. That's the conversation.
We can look at stats all day, right? You know, we can look at stats and try to judge. I know there's not a lot of 6'9" point guard. No one's trying. I'm thinking about the '90s growing up. There was nobody trying to be a 6'9" point guard, right? I mean, it's just the influence that you really have on the game from the position as a player. When I look at the kids and I watch AAU, it's like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously I have to answer it that way, but I really feel like, to your point, like Magic's resume is ridiculous. Yeah. Like, all right, so the fact that we're even having that conversation it's a place I never thought I'd be in. You put me on my own team, I'm gonna rep myself for sure. But Magic, like that's a lofty resume to shoot for, right? So I'm still going. Let's see what happens.
So there you have it. There's Steph Curry claiming he is the greatest point guard of all time over Magic Johnson. I like Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry is the second greatest point guard ever, and I don't believe it's close in any way, shape, or form, but I think people are going to be too upset about this than what it really is. So very quickly, Steve, I'm going to do the world some justice, or do Magic some justice, and give a history lesson on Magic Johnson. 75% of his career was spent as a top 3 MVP candidate. He's the all-time playoff leader in assists and in triple-doubles. He is the finals all-time leader in assists and steals. Only Kareem and LeBron, 2 of the greatest winners and finals performers of all time, have played and scored more points in finals games than Magic. He has 143 playoff games with more than 10 assists or 10 assists or more. Magic Johnson has 10 20-plus assist playoff games. Okay? So he has 10 playoff games with 20 assists or more. The rest of NBA history has 10 combined. The rest of NBA history has 10. Magic has 10 on his own. Those are just some Magic Johnson stats. It was in 9 finals, won 5 of them. But Steph Curry did not mean this in a malicious intent. I think he believes it because he's a little cocky and believes in himself and has that attitude, and that's fine. I respect that from any athlete. Steve, you had sent to me a thing on Instagram about Austin Reeves picks his all-time starting 5, and he's on it. But it's Austin. You said, well, it's Austin Reeves. He's gonna say himself, of course. It's the same thing. So I think people are gonna get too upset about Steph Curry saying this thing, and I think another thing that Steph does, I don't know what you want to call it, that is gonna rub people the wrong way. When Gilbert first says about him being the best point guard ever, and he's like, between me and Magic, right? And he starts laughing, and people I think you're gonna look at that as like he's laughing because it shouldn't be close. He thinks it's gonna be him. Why are people talking about it? But I think he laughs because it's like a joke. Like, of course it's him and Magic. Like it shouldn't have to be clarified, so he's clarifying it. That's the joke. So yeah. In conclusion, I just don't think this is a big deal. I think people are making a big deal because it seems like one, and also Steph is just flatly wrong.
You're always going to bet on yourself, and especially when you're in the realm of the Steph Currys, you're always going to want to say that you're the best ever. Ask Shaquille O'Neal if he's the greatest center of all time. He's always going to tell you he is, or like on camera he's going to say no, but off camera he might say he is. Like, the greats will always have a reason why they're the best. 3 finals MVPs to 1 finals MVP is something to me that matters. Magic has 5 rings, and 3 of them he has the finals MVPs. Curry has 4 rings and only has 1 finals MVP. And when you're losing finals MVP to Andre Iguodala as the Steph Curry of your team, that doesn't look great.
Steph Curry, without a doubt, is the first or second most influential player in NBA history. I would say only only Michael would be above him. But yeah, this statement was just wrong, and this only serves as clickbait in the sense of like, if you say something like this, it's gonna be everywhere, and if you don't listen to what he's saying and don't pay attention, just read headlines, this seems like it's something way more than what it is, and it's just not. It's just Steph Curry, who has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, is saying I'm the best ever. And you made a great comparison with Shaq. You're exactly right, and Shaq is the same echelon of player. That's just what they do. They're always going to think it's them. That was a great point. That was today's soundbite. Hope everyone enjoyed, and always remember that Magic Johnson is the greatest point guard ever, not Steph Curry.
He was number 1.
Don't listen to that false. I hope you learned something about Magic today from my stats. Excellent player. But yeah, today's soundbite. So our final topic of the day, we're going to stick with the NBA, I should say. James Harden, who I texted to Steve one day, provides nothing for a team except tomfoolery, is back doing just that, causing tomfoolery. Saying at one of his events in China that Daryl Morey is a liar and that he will never be a part of an organization that Morey is a part of. And he said that their relationship, as in he and the Sixers, is not repairable. And there's just a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of moving parts with this going on. And as we all know, Steve, you are our resident Philadelphia 76ers fan. The floor is yours, my friend. Explain why James Harden is garbage.
All of this goes back to last season when James Harden took a $15 million pay cut so that Daryl Morey could sign the likes of PJ Tucker and Daniel House Jr. Now, James Harden, by doing that, He could have locked himself in on a contract in Brooklyn. Before he left Brooklyn, he had an offer for a $161 million extension. Before he left the Rockets, they were going to make him the highest paid player in the league. James Harden is frustrating me with all of this money talk. So James Harden has come out and said that he's mad at Daryl Morey because he wouldn't trade him quick enough, and said that he wouldn't be a part of his franchise. So let's take a look at what James Harden has done in the last couple of years, and including this year, to earn the right to say the things that he said. So James Harden hasn't played in over 70 games since 2018. James Harden hasn't averaged over 25 points a game since 2019. James Harden has the lowest free throw attempts in his last 10 years this year, the lowest shots per game in his last 10 years, the lowest points per game in his last 10 years, his lowest 2-point field goal percentage in the last 10 years in the playoffs this year. He had his lowest playoff field goal percentage since 2016. You always talk about you want to win, and yet you're leaving the best situation that you could be in to win a championship, and you're leaving because we can't find a trade package that's good enough for who you are. How easy is it to trade a guy who's been declining for the last 3 seasons? And we need to get something for you in return that's worth letting you go. Like, you're thinking so selfishly, and that's what you've done your entire career. I have no faith in James Harden's ability to take a team and do anything other than create tomfoolery.
I'll say this. I've never seen you whip out a notepad like to start rattling stuff off. So I knew once you pulled out that pad, I'm like, man, he's about to rip into this guy. Yeah, nothing you just said is wrong. I agree with a lot of it, but here I have a little bit of a twist on what I think of where I think this digression started. So I think before the season started, when they were signing these free agents, I think James Harden and Daryl Morey, behind a locked closed door with the lights off and whispering, said, listen, Daryl said, listen, James, come here, buddy, come here. Because they were boys. They were kind of friends in Houston. Daryl Morey traded for Harden in OKC or from OKC, traded for Harden from Brooklyn. He's like, listen, we got some money left over, okay? We're going to sign these 2 guys. We're going to bring them on. And then next season, that money that we gave to them, we're going to give to you. We'll give you your contract. Just wait 1 more year. We're going to use it to get better players like you want. And James Harden said, okay, Daryl, that sounds good. I love you. He said, I love you too. And they gave him each other a smooch and they left. And then James Harden, then come December, says, hey, everyone, guess what? I'm going back to Houston. H-Town. What up, baby? I'm going to be a Rocket again. Let's go. And I think Daryl Morey was a bit shocked, and at that point it was still kind of speculation. But from December to May, we all thought James Harden was going to be a Rocket, right?
Yes.
Then we thought, okay, he's going to opt out of his contract, or he's going to opt out of his contract, and he's going to go be a free agent, and all that money that they gave to Dylan Brooks and to Fred VanVleet, they're going to give to Harden. But instead, he opted in. And if he would have opted out, not only could he have got the contract from Houston, they could have reworked his contract in Philly. So instead, he opted in, so they have to keep him, so they can't work on the new contract, which is what he wanted from the start. And then he's like, hey, by the way, I'm only going to play for the Clippers, and if you don't do it in 6 seconds, I'm going to be mad. So they, of course, didn't do it in 6 seconds. He then goes to China, his safe haven, where there's 2 billion James Harden and Rockets fans. And then that's where he says, oh, by the way, Daryl Morey, you're a piece of shit and you're a liar. Like, we've said this before, and I've said this, I know, before multiple times. James Harden is delusional. He's delusional. He points fingers and he doesn't want responsibility for anything. Is this whole thing 100% on James Harden? Like, why is this happening? Probably not. Like I said, I think Daryl Morey plays a little bit of a part in what he told James Harden. What he's lying about, I don't know. I don't think James Harden is going to lie about Daryl Morey being a liar. It's just a matter of what it is he's lying about. But James Harden is also known for being hard to work with and for leaving teams in a huff when he doesn't get his way. And he doesn't play well with others, and especially with someone that's a little sensitive like Embiid. And in Philadelphia, where in general it's a very sensitive situation, it just all came to a boil, and this is where we're at now. This is just typical James Harden behavior. I don't put all of it on James Harden. Like I said, some of it I think has to do with Daryl Morey, but this is just James Harden being James Harden.
I remember hearing this after the Rockets signed Ime Udoka. They literally came out like the day later and said, we're no longer interested in trading for James Harden. Like, Ime Udoka did not want him there. So, like, I just don't see an end to this, because now apparently the Sixers are going to keep him and he's going to be with them through the season. But he's the kind of guy that's just not going to play. He already said he's not showing up to training camp. So I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, it's not a great time to be a Philadelphia fan right now for you. It's just got a lot going on all the time, I feel like. But yeah, that is our thoughts on James Harden's tomfoolery. That's our word of the day, tomfoolery. Yeah, James Harden thoughts. And that's going to do it for us today. Another excellent show. After a brief hiatus, we will try not to be away that long again. That was wrong of us. We shouldn't have left the sports world unattended for that long, and for that, we do apologize.
We did, and Curry said he's the best point guard ever.
I was literally going to say that. We left for 2 seconds, and Steph Curry's claiming he's the greatest point guard ever. So the sound will be here for the long run. Don't you worry, folks. Hope you enjoyed our show. Hope you enjoyed all of our segments. And always remember, if you are ever in need of intelligent and cogent sports analysis, listen to the sound. We will always have you covered. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed watching. Have a great rest of your day or night. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.